Hello, thank you for joining me today. I'm here to discuss with you grievance procedures and processes, as well as some conflict management techniques. So the first step in grievance procedure is for the employee with the grievance to attempt to resolve this with their direct supervisor. Now, if this does not work, they will then attempt to go to the next level of management from that. And if conflict resolution does fail at that senior management level, the employee can then initiate the grievance process. So they will do this by writing a formal or a formal and a written complaint. This can be either online, in paper, or verbalize it directly with an HR representative. Now, the HR person accepting the complaint will then create a formal document if it's been verbalized to them. This must include specific details like the name of the employee or any employees involved, dates, any specific details of the incident, as much information as possible. After which formal investigation can commence once the grievance has been filed. This includes any sort of interviews that the investigator does with employees involved. If it requires more serious information such as security tapes or an audit of emails, etc. Anything that's kind of related to the grievance will be reviewed and added to the investigative report. After which the investigator will write a conclusion after compiling and analyzing all of the documentation. Now, if the grievance does involve a union, a mediator will be called in to assist in finding a solution. Now, I would like to note that the employee that files a grievance is allowed at any given time to have a support person there with them during any sort of meetings related to the grievance. And at the resolution of mediation processes, either the investigator or mediator will make a formal recommendation for consequences. After the formal recommendation is made, the employee in question may still bring their grievance to court if they are not satisfied with the recommended consequence, and provided that there is no contract prohibiting a court case. Now, to prevent an employee from having to go through the grievance process to begin with, it is important to practice conflict management techniques. So, first thing when it comes to conflict is to not ignore it. If you can, proactively pick up any potential conflict, that would be great. If not, as soon as you see something, do not ignore it. It needs to be addressed right away. It's also important to acknowledge this, otherwise it could the issue could fester over time, becoming even worse and compound the issue at hand. You also want to clarify with the person or with the employee exactly what the issue is. You don't want any misunderstandings or miscommunication with this. You need to get exact clarification, particularly between two parties, as you will need to get both perspectives as to what the issue is, because there will be a varying perspective between one employee and the next as to how they see the issue. It's also important when interviewing and finding all of these facts that you are acting as a impartial mediator. You don't want to be perceived as though you are favoring one side or the other, because that could exacerbate the issue at hand. If the employee does not feel like you are acting in their best interest. You also want to be somebody that the employees feel comfortable speaking with and opening up about potentially really sensitive issues. After talking with the two parties separately, you'll need to bring them together to see if they can resolve that situation in a neutral setting before it ends up going to a formal complaint. You'll need to try to identify a solution and really have them set aside their differences and find some common ground. Once you reach that resolution, you will want to monitor the situation and follow up with both parties involved, because you don't want someone to say that they're okay with the resolution and not really be, and that simmering tension gets even worse and graduates to a formal grievance or complaint. So as long as you utilize those techniques, it should reduce the likelihood of the formal grievance process, which you are now familiar with. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. Thank you.